So in my last video, I showed how to create this sort of a Batman mask that fits into my tarful mask, into my underskull. What I've done that I didn't record was I went through with a little Dremel bit and just basically sanded and cleaned up some of the edges, rounded them off just a little bit, just to kind of make it look a little cleaner. I think this is going to end up getting covered up anyway. It's certainly not something that's ever visible to the mask. Anyway, so that was the first thing I did for this next step. In the next part of the video, what I'm going to do is show how I'm padding the inside upper part of the mask, starting with the top center, top of the head, and then moving towards the back. And the reason for that is because when I activate the jaw with my jaw, it pulls down on, first it pulls down on this, but also these two areas right here. And so I want to make sure that I have those fit correctly. So what I have is I have a box of just like leftover miscellaneous padding. Occasionally I'll order some tactical airsoft padding off of Amazon. I ordered a couple more packs of that. They're like 10 to 20 bucks per. And so I have this big box of padding, different types of padding. For this particular fitting, what I'm doing is using a lot of this EVA. This is the material that I made that mask, this sort of the sleep mask, the bat mask out of. And so I basically just dive into this box and I kind of see if I have stuff that might work or that could be easily manipulated to work for my existing project. And so hopefully you can hear me, but I have this mask on my head right now, and the only thing that's in here is that sleep mask that I showed you earlier, and I'm kind of holding it up where my eyes are supposed to fit. As you can tell, there's, when I let go of it, it goes down. You can see my eyes go up in the mask, which means I need padding up in the top of the mask. And so I'm going to go through a process of trial and error, layering padding in just the top to try and get my eyes to where I want them to be in terms of how this mask is, I guess, vertically spaced. So in my box of padding, what I have is, like I said earlier, a variety of different pads. And one of the pads that I have a couple of is this round pad that's really just designed to go up in the top of masks. These are obviously made for like tactical padding masks or helmets and stuff of that nature. But and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need more padding than this because you can kind of see the general thickness of it. But what I'm going to do is just go through this trial and error process of I'm going to put this in there and I'm going to put it back on my head and kind of see where my eyes fall and see if it's where I need it to be. So let's get a sense for what this looks like and what this does to my head inside of this mask with this single pad sitting in the top. So I've got that pad up in the top. And as you can see, it's maybe a little bit better than it was before with no padding at all, which tells me that I'm really close. Now I have an enormous head, but this process of just putting some padding in, trying it on, seeing where it sits, and then, you know, either adding or subtracting padding is the process that I'm going to go through. So what I need to do, you can see I'm just letting it freely sit here on my head, and I want it to be able to freely sit about like this. So if you can see where my eyes are at, and you can see how much I'm lifting it, that's about the distance of padding that I probably need to add to get it to sit, because I want it to sit just like this. This camera is looking at me straight on, and you can see when I let go of it and press down, it's basically my eyes are sitting too high. So when I move it up, so my guess is I need to add another padding that's about as thick as what I just added. So I'm going to try that and then come back to it. So I have that padding that I just had in the mask. And in all truth, I did work this out ahead of time. So I know that what I'm going to need in the top is a second layer of this EVA foam. Now, this particular piece, as I mentioned before, came with a padding kit. So it's already got this material around it. But all I'm doing is I'm just going to layer this piece of EVA foam. This will be the part that touches the underskull. And then this part will sit on top of it, and I'm going to put those in the top, and then we'll see where my eyes fall. Now, as I mentioned already, I'd already worked this out ahead of time, and so I'm just making this video to kind of show everyone the process that I go through to pad out my masks. But this, as it turns out, is because I worked it out ahead of time, this is how much padding I need in the top. Now, depending on how big your head is, to fill out, depending on the mask and depending on how big your head is, you may need to layer 3 or 4 layers of this foam to try and get it to fit your head using this sort of method. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and try this inside that mask, and then we'll get a sense for what that looks like. One of the things that I forgot to mention was that because I had already previously tried this out, is that I went in and I put some heat on this with the heat gun, and I shaped it so that it fits to this center area of the mask. I forgot to mention that in the last clip, but this has already been heat shaped. Obviously, this was just a flat piece of EVA previous to the heat shaping. The other thing I forgot to mention, apologies for some of the, just as I'm slamming this video together, I'm remembering a couple things that I should have talked about. So I'll try to piece this together so it makes sense. I have this roll of double-sided tape, and the reason for that is because sometimes it's really tough to put the padding in there, and then right when you go to put it on your head, it slides out of place or something like that. And so what I'm hoping to do is just put a couple pieces of double-sided tape on it, and hope that will help it hold in place, just so I can get it on my head and get a sense for if it's enough padding. Again, this is a process I've already done, so I know this is working, but for the purpose of the video, that's kind of my thought. And then I'm doing the same thing with that second layer. You can see I've got that first layer already stuck in there with the double-sided tape. What I'm going to do is just put this second layer on it, and it has a piece of Velcro on the back that it's just lost its adhesion because I've been back and forth sticking and unsticking it so much. So again, I just added a piece of this double-sided duct tape-ish stuff just for the purpose of figuring out what padding I need. And so you can see the padding stuck in there. It's probably a temporary stick-in, but it's just enough for me to try it on and get a sense for if that's going to be the amount of padding that's going to work. Okay, and so I'm wearing the mask now, and all I have right now is I have that sleep mask in here, and I have the double layered padding here in the top. And as I look at it, it's just the perfect amount of padding for me, at least in this top area of the mask. So I know I'm set up there, and you know, if I move the camera around the back, you can see there's still a decent amount of space. It's kind of hard. I need a second set of hands, and I don't have them, but you can see there's space all around except for in this top where I can feel it flushed up against my face. I already know I'm going to need padding in other places, but this is just the starting point, is this top spot here, to make sure that I get my eyes where I want them vertically in the mask. So the next step is for me to go to the back of the mask, and that again is so that I am, when I operate the jaw, so that the mask sort of pulls away from me in the back. I call it anchoring, and that allows me to put pressure on the jaw to get some lip lift mech or lip lift function, and get that mouth movement that everybody loves. So now I'm working back in this space right here, the back of the head, trying to get an anchor. And what I did was I went through that same process that I just did with the top of the head, and I found out that I really need, I think what it is about 2 layers of the EVA foam and then 1 layer of that tactical padding, and that should be about what I need. And so that'll just go right there, and then I will try it on again and see where it gets me. And at this point, I should start to be able to get some mouth activation and some lip lift, just because I've got enough padding in the top and in the back of the head. So we'll see what it does after that. I may need to add some padding underneath my chin to really fully maximize what I get there. But again, I'm wanting it to be as firm as possible to my head. So one of the things that's really important is when I put in this top padding and when I put in this back of the head padding, it's really important that it's pulling really close to my face, firmly against my face, at the eyes, at the nose. And so that's why I started off by doing this padding here in the eyes, is because I knew that when I do this padding and when I do this padding, it's going to be pulling my face back towards my face. And so if there's any sharp edges or anything down there, they're going to be sort of cutting into my face, which is why I wanted to have this sleep mask part prepared early on, so that when I get to this stage, it's not causing me a lot of pain figuring out what padding I need in the mask. So next step is to put this in and then try it on again and see where I'm at. And so as you can see, I've got the padding in there. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. I've just got it in there with tape. So hopefully it's holding, but just for the test fit. But that's what I've got so far. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on and we'll see where it's at. All right, so I've got the top padding in and then I've got the back in as well. And it's starting to get really comfortable just with those two, well, I guess three, because you have the sleep mask, you have the top and the back. But just with those three things, it's starting to get pretty comfortable. I'm starting to get a sense for what my padding system is going to look like inside this mask. And I think I'm getting a little bit of lip lift too. This mask is pretty stiff. It hasn't gotten much work, but as I operate my jaw, and I know I'm going to need padding under my chin, because in this mask I get quite a bit of space under my chin and the way that my face is built. But that's the gist of it. So right now I know I'm really happy with the top padding, really happy with the back padding. And so the next step is probably figuring out if I need something under my chin. Right now I'm not really feeling any pressure in my forehead, so I might delay that. Whereas typically I might go to my forehead next, after these top two, to kind of figure out the top. But right now I'm feeling like something in the chin might kind of put the finishing touches on this padding, and then I'll kind of see what other miscellaneous padding I need around it. But the key parts of my padding, I think, are done, because I'm getting some lip mech already. Now I just need to kind of do some little fine tuning to try and get more, so that I don't have to open my mouth as wide to get that lip mech. So again, like, this is what I'm looking at, and I've already shown this part in the video, but I've got really three parts. I've got that sleep mask area, and then the top and the back. Those are really the key features of figuring out my padding in this mask. The next particular part I want to do, let's see if I can set this down with one hand, is I need to put some padding down in the chin area. You can see down there's nothing down in there except for fiberglass. And since I've already gone through this process, what I know I need is something to the effect of this. It's just a single tactical padding. There's already some adhesive on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in, see where I'm at. I haven't completely figured out how much padding I'm going to need in the chin. And then the other thing I want to do, I don't know that I need to, because what I was thinking about is trying to fit some sort of an airflow system up here, and then run a tubing down along the side. I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but obviously there's room for more padding, most notably in the forehead, the chin, which I just talked about, but the forehead and then the sides here. But the three pieces of padding that you see here are really the key to getting your mask padded out for your head. And again, like, you might need more padding than I'm using. I have an enormous head, and so it really means I have to use less padding. If I had a tiny head, I might be using 4 or 5 layers of this kind of thing. And this by no means is the only way to do this. This is just the method that I've come up with that has worked best for me. So I'm just sharing this to kind of, get people thinking about what might work. And certainly, share your ideas. So next step is I'm going to put this in the chin, see where I'm at, see what mouth movement I'm getting. And then I'm going to start thinking about maybe forehead padding, I think, or just sort of at the brow, and see what I can get there. I don't even think I need very much. So I think if I do, it's going to be another single tactical padding situation. So again, try this on in the chin, see where I'm at. One thing I want to note is that the double-sided tape is working really well. I was trying to do this video before without double-sided tape, and I needed like 5 hands to do it because I was having to hold pads in as I fitted on my head and everything. But the double-sided tape seems to be all holding it in. I do plan on gluing some of this in. I'm thinking probably just using some E6000. The only thing I haven't really like double-sided taped in is the sleep mask, which honestly I really need to because it's shifting around as I try it on. And then you can see that padding that I put down in the chin that I'm about to try on. So let's do that and see where I'm at. Okay, so here I am. I've got the mask back on, obviously. I've got the padding in the top. I've got the padding in the back. I've got the sleep mask on, that being the step one in the process. And now I've added some padding to under my chin. All of it is stuck in with that double-sided tape, so it's staying there, you know, pretty good. I don't really have any padding in the brow, and it's, to be honest, it's difficult to get a sense for how much I need. I think it's pretty thin. Like my head doesn't feel like it's like touching the brow, but at the same time, it doesn't. It's not touching it, but I think it's just going to be a pretty thin layer there. And then I don't have any padding really on the sides too. I don't know that I really need any padding on the sides, but I may try it out just to kind of see what it does to kind of add some stability in the top of the head. And it may have something to do with that anchoring too. But let's go ahead and try to see how much lip movement I'm getting with that padding added in the chin. Let's see how that looks. Normally I have my palate in here, but I've taken it out because it was sort of in my mouth. So I need to do some fixes to that. But you can see I'm getting a pretty good amount of mouth movement that I'm pretty happy with. And as this mask gets more use and loosens up a bit, I think it's going to be even better. So what I'm basically saying is that I think I've kind of figured out the 90% of what my padding needs to look like in this mask. It all feels really comfortable in comparison to past experiences with masks and padding them out. So essentially, like, this video I think is going to come to a close, but you get a sense for how I'm doing that. I may do a quick video or a quick little snippet here at the end, just showing like how I'm gluing it in. I think I'm just going to try E6000. We'll see what happens with that. My wife was suggesting maybe hot glue. I'm like, I don't see that holding up. So I think I'm going to try E6000. We'll see what happens with that. But again, this is how you pad out a mask. This is how I pad out my masks. And it's sort of just kind of using my box of extra stuff that I have on hand in a trial. A little bonus footage here. This is a mask padding kit that I just got in the mail, and I've actually ordered these in a different color several times. Basically, this is, again, just like a tactical helmet padding, same as some of those other pads were. I've got a couple of other packs of tactical padding, and these are just more like, you know, rectangles, and they each have one of those circle shapes that I used already. But these fit more, I guess, I don't know, more strategically in helmets and stuff like that. But I'm thinking something like this might work for my forehead area if I decide to pad that out. This one came like stuck together with some Velcro, and this particular padding, like, there's a very rigid sort of underlying padding, and then there's this black padding that is like much more like memory foam, much more sort of you know, soft on the skull kind of a padding. But anyway, I'm going to try out something like this probably in the forehead. I may just try the black layer because it just comes off. It's just Velcroed on. But we'll see. I don't know how much room I have there, so I'll go through that same process of figuring out what I can fit in that space. This is sort of like the front forehead section, and then you can see right here there's sort of a back section. This goes sort of up in the middle of the head. But again, you can find these on Amazon. I want to say I paid 16 or 17 bucks for this pack, and maybe I think I got these two for like I think it was like 2 for 20 with these other ones, 2 for 20 bucks or something. Anyway, I'm going to try out this one here and just get a sense for if I can even fit my head in it. And so I'll add that to the end of this video. So I've got that more rigid section in there. I'm not certain that I'll have enough room to put the other section on top of it, that more memory foam one. And you can see there's kind of some overlap in there. I don't know if you can see it. There's some overlap with the circular padding in the middle. And so my guess is that if something like this does work, I'm going to have to cut off that section of padding, which I've done a bunch in the past. You just sort of figure out what works. I like what I have in there already, so I'm going to stick with that. And so I'll make this pad work around it. And so what I'm going to do is just sort of cut on that seam line that you can see in there, and then give it a try with just this lower section. So there we go. I cut off that little piece, fit it in there. It actually kind of fits in there surprisingly well. I don't know yet if it's gonna if my head will fit in there with it, but anyway, let's find out. All right, so I've got that on my head with that section here in the forehead. And I gotta be honest, like, it feels even better. It feels like it's form-fitting to my head even more. And it's just that single layer. I may even be able to add that memory foam section in there. And the other thing too I was thinking about as I just tried it on and I'm just feeling it is, instead of this mask, because I have the strap tightened in the back, instead of this mask pulling tight and just really around where that sleep mask is now, it's also pulling tight on my forehead, because I've cut down that space that was existing there that I couldn't really tell how much there was. And so I'm wondering how that's going to affect the lip mech. So let's go ahead and try the lip mech and kind of see where I'm at. I would say it's even better. There's even less pressure on my face, which is good. All the pressure that I want to add as much pressure as I can to the top of the dome, so that I can just freely operate that jaw. And pretty happy with it. I'm going to try it now with this this section here. Sorry, there's that little piece that I cut off stuck to it, and to see if that helps that even more. Let's try that. All right, so now I've got that little memory foam section added in there. Let's see what happens. And then after that, we'll hopefully move on to the sides there and see what I can get. Again, well, I'll wait to talk about that, but I wanted to fit some air stuff in there later too. Okay, so let's see how this fits. Okay, so now I have that memory foam pad added in now, and I'm trying this on. And just as I'm feeling it right now, something feels a little bit off than before, and I can't figure out exactly what it is, but I know that it changed after I added that memory foam padding in. So I have a feeling that that's just too much padding. Again, I want to try it. It's not uncomfortable, but it's wanting to come off the back of my head now, and so I'm not exactly sure what's happening. I don't think any of the other padding moved. I think it's a little bit too much padding in the sides here and here, not necessarily here. So I guess maybe I could cut off the memory foam padding on the sides and see if that helps, which I may do. Let's try the lip mech. I don't think it'll be any different than before, but it's a little bit less comfortable inside, I guess I would say. And so here's the lip mech with that memory foam added in. And with the lip mech, if you'll notice, like, I'm getting limited, like, the mask isn't moving on my face, which is exactly what I want. If every time I have to open my jaw, the mask slides on my face, then something's really wrong. I've got the strap nice and firm and tight in the back, and I've got that padding anchoring me, which I talked about earlier. But I'm getting a lot of good movement. I have a feeling that I just need to cut off that memory foam that's on the sides here. I'm not sure that I will, though. I may just try it on for a little longer and see what works. It's just a pretty snug fit. It's snug but comfortable, and that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to take a look at that again and kind of get a better sense of it and then come back. So I think what I was seeing there, what I was trying to explain with the mask on, is that this little bit of added padding right here on each side, over here as well, was maybe a little bit more padding that I need for comfort. So what I may do is, there's a little seam line right here, is I may just cut off those little arms that are on that black padding and then see what it is. I'm not exactly sure, though. This is something that I can kind of pull in and out, and it was comfortable before I even had this in. So I'm not sure that I want to ruin this piece right here by cutting it. So that's a decision I might make at a later time. I think that decision will be easy to make, even with all the hair on and everything like that. One of my concerns with the Tarful mask is that it might have been harder to pad out as I get all the dreads and everything on. It's just a lot of stuff to with all the dreads hanging down, it's a lot to have to move out of the way to get to the inside of the mask to figure out what the padding is, because really the padding process, it's like a lot of put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, over and over, in this sort of trial and error process of figuring out how much padding you need. The next process that I might do is going to include figuring out like an air system in here, and or padding in this space right here. This is the same exact padding, but a different color than I put in the chin, or really close anyway. And again, it just came with one of those kits that I got. I think I got it 20 bucks for 2 of them, I think, on Amazon or something like that. But anyway, these pads here, they're really not critical to the fit of the mask, at least as far as I can tell. But all the padding you see in there right now is essentially the padding system that's going to get me a good amount of lip function with this particular mask. And I'm really liking this right now. I told myself once I figure out the padding, I can start putting hair on this thing. And so I'm really excited to hair it. Hopefully I get a chance to show you guys. I know I need to show everybody how to glue dreads on. Anyway, I'll say everybody have a good evening, and I'm going to wrap up this video, but you can kind of get a sense for how to start the padding process. Everything you see in this mask right now, from that sleep mask with that was the starting point, to the top circular padding and then the back of the head padding, all of those things are the key features of padding a mask out. And then that forehead padding is sort of like the 5th part of that process. And then maybe together we can kind of figure out like an air system for these masks, and or, you know, like the side padding, air system probably being the better of those options. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good evening, and thanks for watching the video. So you can see I pulled most of that padding out. I still have the chin padding in, and you can see I put some E6000. I'm just using this stuff right here, but I've got a medium to thin layer of E6000 kind of coating those top and back areas. I'm going to start with that, and so what I'm going to do is put those pads in there, and then I've got some clamps that I'm going to use to just hold them down while I let them dry for about 20 minutes. So I've got those glued in there, and I've got this clip on the back just kind of pressing down on that back one. The one in the center, again, it's just that first layer of padding that I want glued down. I'll probably use some sticky Velcro from there to the softer tactical padding. And then I got to figure out how I want to glue in this sleep mask pad. It kind of looks like a mess right now because I had a bunch of clay foam in there that I ripped out because it kept on dissolving with sweat. So I probably need to clean that out, the remaining residue, before I glue that sleep mask in there. But again, it's just a quick layer of E6000, and then let that dry for 20 minutes or so until it, you know, is adhering. I think E6000 usually is like an overnight deal. But I think after 20 minutes or a half hour, it's fine, for at least for trying it on. Anyway, for like the 3rd time, I'm going to close this video out here because it's just a simple, you know, gluing things in at this point. But I appreciate everybody watching, and for like the 3rd or 4th time now, I'm going to end this video. Thanks. Bye. And I'm back. Anyway, maybe call it impatience or whatever, but what I did was, as I'm letting those dry, I really wanted to get this mask in here so it's not shifting when I put it on. And so I've added some E6000 around this. Hopefully I don't regret adding the E6000 to this as opposed to like Velcro or something. But anyway, I'm just going to go for this, see what it is. One other thing I forgot to mention too is that when I was sort of using that Dremel bit to sort of soften the edges up on this thing, I used that also to kind of route out these channels that are for the lip mech tubing and guides, just to kind of open them up a bit so that this would sit in there more flush with the front of the fiberglass face. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and set this in here and glue it in along with these other 2 that I've got going on, and then I won't have to worry about them shifting around as I try it on and figure out the last 2% of this padding system.